this scene, we are going to analyze four materials: particular glass, colored glass, weft curtains, and blue fruit basket we will have on the table, who is a translucent material. Let's start setting a big render, and after we will start this lesson just using a region render option. Okay, let's start with the glass. I'll show you something new compared with what I already said in the previous training and also in the 10 lessons to start. Well, let's start setting a glass material, following the guidelines you already know: diffuse black, average reflections, Fresnel option active, and to complete the material, an almost maximum value for refractions. Okay, assign the material to the entire group, and let's see the effect. As you can see, the glass material works fine. What I'm going to specifically show you in this lesson is the option max depth in the refraction area. In particular, this option controls how many rays will be traced into the glass in order to produce as more as accurate refractions in the render. This value could be reduced, for example, to 2, producing a faster result. But as usual, if we reduce some parameters, we got faster renders, but we got also less definition. So it's up to us to decide if the approximation we are setting is fine or not for our purpose. In this case, it's pretty evident that we lost a lot of details, important details. That was the depth of the glass representation. So in this case, reducing this value is not convenient. I also have to say that most of cases max depth 5 works perfectly. And this is true for refractions and also for refraction, since the concept is exactly the same. I'm going to show you a little trick. If we are running a small tests in a really small areas, we can use a nice trick, as I said, to be more effective getting a faster results. We can reduce the bucket value. The bucket is those small square who produce the render. So go to settings section and let's reduce the value in a region render division to 10, for example. There's more. Activating the track mouse while rendering, we can choose how parts of the image render first. So we can immediately render the parts we are interested in. And in this way we can move the mouse over the image and we get an instant feedback without waiting for the entire image. To complete the max depth topic, it's good to underline that this value 5, the default value 5 usually works fine in a lot of situations. Just in this case, we can appreciate a lot more details in the third image with the max depth set to 10. It's because there's a lot of glass surfaces one behind the other. That's why increasing this value the definition is so improved, but usually 5 works really fine. Let's start now with the colored glass that we are going to create for the top of the table. This object here. Let's start with a generic Vray material. And set an ordinary glass. We are really expert in this. Diffuse black, average reflections, Fresnel option, refractions here. And now, to create the color into the glass, just add a simple color into the fog color box. For example, to create a greenish glass, choose this color here and assign it to the object, and let's see what happens. Here the result. And thank you to the fog color, we can give a little color to our glass table, and as expected, in the thicker side we can appreciate a much more intense color, as this is a real physics simulation, since this effect is the same we can observe in a real glass. One more thing about, we can also modify the intensity by setting fog multiplier. For example, if I reduce it 10 times, I'll get this effect. And it is evident, especially in the thicker side, the intensity has reduced. Now let's see the material we already discussed in the delicate room training, and it is the Vray two-sided material. This material has a really simple purpose. Reproducing the interior side, the light is getting on the exterior side, and it works only with one single phase object. And this translucency effect is what really happens with the real curtains. Once this simulation was possible with a complicated and unreal calculation using tricks or time-consuming methods. But we are lucky nowadays with the Vray two-sided material, as you can see by watching the render in progress, the calculation is really fast. Let's see how Vray two-sided material works. It has a really simple structure. In the front slot we create a simple generic Vray material. In fact, I just put in here a generic gray. And with the color we have in the translucency box, we can control if to get a more or less translucency effect. For example, if I set a darker color here, we'll get a curtain with less light passing through, like in this case. If I set a brighter colors, it's obvious, I get a more translucent material. This color I set in the translucency box. It's applied to every point of the curtain, but we can control this value point by point by adding a map possibly with the weft look. In this way we can easily simulate the curtain weft. So click on None, choose a bitmap and select the map FPL1. Just to understand what's going on, this is the preview of this texture. As you can see, it's a sort of weft. This kind of texture will help our material to get the desired effect on the curtain. So let's see what happens using this texture in the translucency slot. As you can see, there are brighter and darker pixels according with the map. It is not so strong effect yet, but we can start to appreciate the differences because it's not flat like before. In this case it's like that. When we set the translucency and its effect is not so evident. We can access the bitmap options and go to output, enabling the color correction for this texture. I open this preview to see in real time what really happens. And after enabling the color correction controls, we can transform this point into Bezier corner, then bending the curve downward. As you can see, we are getting a darker and contrasted texture. And this is the difference. That's a more contrasted map producing a render. See here how the weft is much more visible. Of course, if we use a more defined texture, this will improve the final result. In the rest of this training, I won't use this map, but I was happy to show you something more about, to let you know more about the Vray two-sided material. Finally, let's create the shading for this fruit basket we have here on the table. I'll try to reproduce those plastic usually produced with a vivid and a translucent colors, very common product. To simulate the translucency for thicker objects, we need to use another material, which is Vray Fast SSS2. This is a special material. Vray Fast SSS2 allows us to simulate objects that with old techniques like hard wax or hybrid model required a lot of time. We can start from the preset you prefer, and in this case I choose potato. I choose potato just to start, since the result will be the same. We will start from the potato material and we will continue doing little modifications. Here we are. Assign it to the object and the render. At this point, to get the plastic I mentioned before, I need a couple of settings. At first, I set the color I want in the box diffuse, and then I copy it in the other two slots. Now, to increase the translucency effect, actually this one is really weak, I could increase scatter radius from 2 cm to 20. In this way I increase the translucency depth. The object is a little bit brighter, but is not the real translucency I was looking for. To achieve a better result, I just replace scatter value from simple to ray traced solid. Of course, it will take a little more time because simple, as the word says, was a really approximated simulation. But with ray traced solid, I get exactly the result I was looking for. And anyway, the render is fast enough. If I want to reduce a little bit the translucency effect, we need to find a parameter to balance the diffuse color and the translucency color. We can balance this value by using diffuse amount. The value range for diffuse amount is from 0 to 1. And using intermediate values, we can choose if we give more importance to the diffuse color or to the translucency color. For example, if I set it to the maximum value, that is 1, I get the fruit basket completely blue with no translucency effect. So if I like the translucency, but I just want to attenuate its effect, I'll use intermediate values like 0.7 for example. Okay, so in this way I reduce the translucency effect, but not at all. Of course it depends on the own taste, just play with these few parameters and you'll get the result you want with these.